Nintendo has count 'em, two games as nominees for Game of the Year at the Game Awards. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And looking back on it, it's been a stellar year for Nintendo. The Switch is as popular as ever, and Nintendo just keeps releasing great games after great game. Ignore Everybody 1-2 Switch. We don't talk about that one. But why is Nintendo and the Nintendo Switch so popular? When pound for pound, it's the weakest console on the market right now. Okay, maybe not pound for pound, but you know what I mean. In terms of raw power, it's weaker than the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And when it almost seems like clockwork that a Nintendo Switch port of another game looks like absolute dog, why is the Switch seemingly still so dominant? Well, for me, I think it's not just any one reason, it's a series of reasons working with one another. I feel like the obvious one is that the Switch has been out since, well, years ago. It's been out since 2017. PS5 and Xbox Series X came out years later. So while the Switch has also had more time to develop more of an install base, it's also a cheaper console. With three main versions, they're all relatively cheap. In US dollars, Nintendo Switch Lite is only $200, and while it may not have the at-home console functionality, it still works as a mobile device. You have the regular Nintendo Switch, which goes for about $300, or the OLED model, which is $350. Significantly cheaper than the Xbox and PlayStation counterparts, not named the Xbox Series S. And simply because it's cheaper, it's going to attract an audience of people that can actually afford the bloody thing, or at least feel less guilty about buying it compared to the other consoles on the market. But that's not the only thing, right? I feel a lot of the times when we have these discussions, we boil it down to one or two specific issues when it's really multiple working together. It's not just that the Switch is cheap. It's also hybrid. You can use this thing as both a stay-at-home, keep it in the dock console, or take it on the go with you. It gives you, the consumer, more functionality and accessibility with the thing. That is incentivizing to a lot of people that want something along the lines of a 3DS, that want something they can just take into the other room and lay down in their bed, which without a TV or a computer monitor. They want to be able to take it on the go, play with friends, play with whatever. The Switch gives you that functionality in a seamless package. All you do is remove the thing out of the dock, and there you go. The Switch has largely been engineered to just suit whatever environment that you are currently in. And that has a lot of benefits to a lot of people. And while it may not be the most technically powerful console on the market right now, for a lot of the games that are on the Switch, it's powerful enough for a lot of people. And when you pair those two things together, you already have a very incentivizing offer for a lot. But there's another aspect to this. Remember how I started this video? Nintendo has two Game of the Year candidates this year in what I call one of the best years of gaming we've had in years, arguably for me since 2017. It's been a stellar year, with nearly everyone besides Xbox coming out with amazing, well-beloved games, and even then, Starfield is liked by some people. And in a sea of all those amazing games, Nintendo still carved a massive place for itself. Tears of the Kingdom, while may not be my favorite Zelda game of all time, does a lot right, and gives you a lot of value, and brings a lot of interesting and fun mechanics to the table, and brings Zelda as a franchise forward, in my opinion, while making significant improvements on the Breath of the Wild formula from, well, Breath of the Wild. You have Metroid Prime Remastered, which a lot of people love, because it understood what Metroid Prime did so well and just updated it. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, bringing back the 2D style of a Mario game. And from everything that I hear about it, people absolutely adore this game and the unique mechanics that it's bringing to the table. You have my standout for this year from Nintendo, Xenoblade 3 Future Redeem. While being short, it does a lot right and brings the series of Xenoblade to a head in a beautiful conclusion to this point, while introducing a bunch of flat-out gameplay and world exploration improvements. Pikmin 4 is being lauded as one of, if not the best Pikmin game released right now, and is selling better than any other Pikmin game. Super Mario RPG Remake, a well-beloved remake of an old classic. Fire Emblem Engage, not the most well-beloved Fire Emblem game of all time, but it's still really good from everything that I hear. Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe, time and time again, ignore Everybody 1-2 Switch. We forget that game, right? Don't make me Man in Black, Mind Erase pen you with this one, yeah? And all of these games are only in 2023. And last year, we had one of the best RPG games to ever come out, in my opinion, with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, again for the Switch. The Switch started as a console with barely any games on it. I remember those olden times. One of the reasons Xenoblade Chronicles 2 sold as well as it did was because there was pretty much nothing else to play on the freaking thing. But they just kept putting out banger after banger after banger. And then repertoire and backlog of games available on the Switch, alongside the fact that the console itself is rather cheap and gives you, the player, multiple ways to utilize it to your preferences and to your environment, it became the probably biggest value of all the consoles. Because you knew Nintendo wasn't going to stop putting out banger games. And the Switch has absolute issues. I have an early-ish model of the Nintendo Switch. My Switch doesn't have an Ethernet port. That to me is unforgivable. I do not know how the Switch released in any form or fashion, at least one of the models with the dock, and it didn't come with an Ethernet port. I don't know how that happened. They remedied that with the OLED model, to my understanding. I am someone who cares about the performance of a game. I like it when my games look pretty, whether it's from visual fidelity or unique art style, and when it comes to unique art style, Nintendo can absolutely nail that one, by the way. But also, I'm an FPS gamer, and I'm not talking about first-person shooter besides that. I do care about the frame rate of a game, and a lot of the times that can be compromised on the Nintendo Switch. I only use my Switch when it has games that I absolutely want to play. But even then, I find myself using the Switch rather often. And I've heard this phrase for a while now, and it does still ring true. If you're really serious about gaming, you love it, and you want to know what setup is for the best for you, so that you can experience as many games as humanly possible, without just buying every console, yeah, the best option I can give you, and this has been a sentiment echoed around the community for a while, is getting some version of a PC that can game, and getting a Nintendo Switch. You have those two things, you're really not missing out on much else. There's a couple of PlayStation exclusives that will likely come to PC in a few years' time, but the Switch right now is just incredible value. And I fully expect for there to be a Nintendo Switch 2 within a year or two. We're coming up about that magic number in a video game console's life, the 8-year mark. Around then is when consoles normally get a new version, a new update, because the current one will be aging too much and be holding back what games and game companies can really put out, and sales tend to slow down as well. We're starting to see that with the Nintendo Switch, from what I've seen, I believe, on Twitter. Don't quote me on that one, though. But the Switch wasn't even a powerful console when it came out, let alone in the year 2023. But I also don't think Nintendo absolutely needs to put out a console that rivals the PS5 or the Xbox Series X in terms of power. Something equivalent or even greater than a PS4, ideally a Pro, honestly would be the play for me. Just something to where all of your first-party games from Nintendo can run at 1080p 60fps bare minimum, ideally 1440p 60fps. And we're golden. Or at least do that thing a lot of console games love to do nowadays, where they give you the optional performance mode, where if you want 60fps for a bit of a drop in visual fidelity, you can have that. You give me Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, or Breath of the Wild, or any of the Xenoblade games at 60fps, I'm replaying those games immediately. So the past for the Nintendo Switch has been very favorable to the consumer. There's a lot of games that you can slowly work your way through from the Switch's backlog that are high quality, replayable, and fun. You pair that alongside the already announced games and the games that have come out in the year 2023, and you have a lot of games tiding you over for right now, and the lineup for 2024 seems to be pretty damn good as well. We have to wait and see what the next console from Nintendo is. I find it hard to believe that they would move away from this working, winnable formula, but it is Nintendo, and sometimes they like to get a little bit cheeky when it comes to a new console. But I honestly think the play is to just stick with the style of console that the Nintendo Switch is. Have it be more affordable than the competitors, let it be both an at-home console while also being able to be undocked, and just keep pumping out amazing game after amazing game. Is the Switch perfect? No. Is Switch Online god-awful? Yes. Is it a crying shame that Nintendo Switch Online and Expansion Pass is as much as it is? Yeah, probably. But if you're coming to me, Jmulls, I want to get into gaming, but I don't know where to start, I would say, I got your back, don't you worry. What you're gonna want to do is, pending your budget, get a Nintendo Switch or start a PC. You get one of those two things, and you're pretty much golden. If you can get both, even better. But in terms of functionality, in terms of just ease of use, it's really hard to beat the Switch, especially with all the support that it has gotten over the years. And in my opinion, it's all of those things working together that makes the Switch such a dominant force in the gaming industry right now, and why its reign is continuing. And with that, I will call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in, my pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. I'll leave a link in the description, by the way, to a list of the games I was talking about earlier that came out this year, because I got most of that list, or pretty much the entirety of the list, from @stealth40k on Twitter, who is just going over the Metacritic summary for all the Nintendo games that came out this year, and it made me just sit back and realize, yeah, Nintendo just keeps pumping out amazing games, don't they? It's a good problem to have, isn't it? Well, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again.